Hi guys, my name is Kirsty. Welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today, I think I have about 3 months worth of books to haul for you. So I don't actually know how this has happened because I really didn't think I hadn't done a book haul for June or July, and I'm now sitting down to do August. But the last video on my feed says that it was May book haul, so we got quite a few books to go through today. I have actually not bought, thank you, that many books in the last 3 months. I'm baffled as to how I haven't sat down to do this, but whatever, we'll get on with it. I've actually just received quite a few books, so I have a lot of ARCs to show you, which is really exciting because I am excited for so many of them, but I'm really impressed that I have not bought that many. I'm pretty sure I haven't bought that many. But a lot of audiobooks to show you as well. In fact, we're gonna start with the audiobooks because I always forget them. So let's start with June. So in June, the audiobook that I got was Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay, and I'm really excited to get around to reading this, but I don't know when I'm gonna read it. I suppose quite soon, actually. I have been reading the 5th Outlander book for the last 3 months. I don't think that's an exaggeration. 3 or 4 months. It's taken me a really long time. It's a massive book, but I am 80% of the way through it now, and I'm so close to being done, and then I will be able to move on to Jane Steele, and this is a reimagining / retelling of Jane Eyre. I'm really excited for it. I really love the twists on it because instead of it being Dear Reader, I married him, it's Dear Reader, I murdered him, and I just love it. I don't honestly know much more about this. I'm just expecting this to be a solid, I was gonna say Victorian read, but I actually don't know when Jane Eyre is set. You can fill in that blank. So Jane Steele is a 12-hour audiobook, so that is super manageable, and I will probably finish that within a week with the rate of which I have been listening to Outlander, which is 60 hours long, so should be picking up the pace on that front. I'm going to do all the audiobooks now, and then I'm going to separate the books by month because I will forget to haul the audiobooks otherwise. The next audiobook that I got was Circe. Actually, I'm honestly not sure how this is split up because I have 4 audiobooks to haul for you today, but it's been 3 months, so I'm sure I missed a beat somewhere. But the next book that I got on Audible was Circe, which is a retelling of Circe's story. From Greek mythology. Yeah, she's just called Circe. So that is all tied in with Jason and the Argonauts and that sort of tale, so I'm really excited for that. I've been really into my Greek mythology lately, so I'm super excited to listen to that one, and that is also only a 12-hour audiobook. The next month I then bought Predator's Gold, which is the sequel to Mortal Engines by Philip Reeves, and that has just been adapted into a movie, which nobody talked about because I think it wasn't that great, but I'm gonna go watch it at some point so that I can actually do a book to movie comparison because the book is incredible. So I'm really excited to finally have the sequel and to be ready to move on to that when I get through the other audiobooks first. The latest book that I have bought on Audible was The Fry Chronicles by Stephen Fry because I love my memoirs and I love Stephen Fry. And he has 4 memoirs out, I think. I've read the first one and they're all got different names. So I've read Moab is my washpot and The Fry Chronicles is the second one in its chronological order, I guess. So I will be listening to that. Again, that is about 12 hours long, so I'm excited to dive back into all the adventures of Mr. Fry. So we're gonna go and have a look now at what I bought / received in June. The first book I'm not going to be reading ever, and that book I actually received from Pan Macmillan, and that is The Emerald Tablet by Megan Wilson Anastasios. I read the first book in... I DNF'd the first book in this series. I have no idea why I have been sent out the sequel, considering I sent off the review and said, hey, thanks, but that really wasn't my thing. I severely dislike the main character in this book, but if you want to know about that, you can go and head over to my blog. I'll leave the link down below for the review of the first one as to why I didn't enjoy this series, and I'm not going to be reading this sequel. At some point I will be giving this to a secondhand store or a charity store or something like that, because apart from anything, I didn't finish the first one, so I don't really want to continue the story. But thank you, Pan Macmillan, for thinking of me, even though you forgot that I didn't like the first one, so. This is all about an archaeologist, though, and it's set, like, around the Suez Canal and stuff like that, blah blah blah. If you're interested, you can have a look. I personally am not going to waste any more time on this series. The next book I got was a present from my friend Sarah, and that was The Goddess Test. I have done a full review of this one, or I'm about to post it. I can't remember if I have actually posted or not, but again, this is Greek mythology retelling, and this is the retelling of the Persephone story. It's really short, it's really sweet, super easy to read, funny, girl has to go through all these tests to be like the next Persephone, and I just loved it. Absolutely nothing to complain about this book. thrilled to have received this one from my friend. She has excellent taste. The next book I got I received from Bloomsbury, and that one was Call It What You Want by Bridget Kemmerer. I'm so excited for this. I'm hoping to read this in September because I am obsessed with Bridget Kemmerer since A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which has been my favourite read for 2019 so far. So this is contemporary, which is her original genre that she writes, and now she's branched into fantasy. Thank goodness, but I think this will be a super quick read. It's about two schools? No. It's about two people, girl, boy, love, complicated life. Just your standard contemporary, but written by a brilliant mind. So I've heard lots of good things about this actually, so I'm really excited. I should be telling you when this comes out. This one came out on the 1st of July, 2919 apparently. That's a typo. 2019. So this one is already out, so you can go and purchase it if you so desire. The next book I received I have already read and reviewed, and that was Toffee by Sarah Crossan. I love this. This is written in prose, which means it is poetry, and it also means that whilst it's a really chunky book, it's not a lot of text per page, so it's actually very, very, very easy to read. It's like 500 pages. I read it in like 3 days. Loved it. This is a very tragic contemporary story about a girl who comes from an abusive family and she just runs away one day, and this old lady mistakes her for somebody else, and so she just plays along with it and lives in her house because the lady's got dementia, so she doesn't realize. And so it's a little bit creepy and definitely breaking some laws, but excellent, excellent read. Would highly recommend. The next book I have is The Gifted, the Talented and Me by William Sutcliffe. I am pretty excited to read this one, but a little bit terrified, mostly because I have read one of Sutcliffe's other books before. Bloomsbury also sent me this one, so thank you very much. I read his dystopian novel, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. Didn't really quite hit the mark how I wanted it to, but this is a contemporary and it sounds really funny because it's following a boy who's 15 years old and he's just like extraordinarily ordinary, and it's all about that. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm also hoping to pick this one up in September. If I can have a ripper of a reading month in September, I really want to read this book and just power through a few contemporaries. I'm in the mood for contemporaries. And that one came out on the 17th of June, so again, well and truly released into the wild. Next book I have to haul is Pan's Labyrinth, which is co-authored by Del Toro and Cornelia Funk. And Del Toro is the original writer slash producer for the film, which is a Spanish film called Pan's Labyrinth, which another friend of mine told me to watch, and I didn't dislike the story. I liked the story. Wasn't the biggest fan of just the film and the vibe of the film. It's very dark and depressing, and I was uncomfortable. But I am really excited to read it in its book format, so I am hoping to get around to this soon. I'm like slightly, oh, there's illustrations in it. I didn't know there were illustrations in it. It looks like it'll be a really quick read, but I am terrified that I'm gonna get like stuck reading this book. So I am low-key procrastinating reading this, even though I really shouldn't, considering I have been so kindly sent a copy of it. I'm just really excited that it's co-authored by Cornelia Funk, because she wrote the Inkheart series, if you're not familiar with the name, and most people have read or at least heard of that, and that's pretty exciting. Even though I'd never finished that series and probably never will, but that's fine. Really, I don't know why I'm so excited for this book, but I am excited. And I think it's going to be good. I can't wait. That one came out on the 2nd of July, so that's already out as well. That is everything for June, so we're going to roll over and have a look at July now. July was much more modest and involved more buying, actually, and I only received one ARC, and that was The Good Thieves by Katherine Rundell, which I've just talked about in my wrap-up, so I will leave a little card above if you want to go and see that and hear some more thoughts on this. I also have my full review up on my blog, which I will link down below if you want an even more in-depth recap of how much I loved this book. I am a die-hard Rundell fan, and when Bloomsbury sent me a copy of this unsolicited, I was like, I nearly died of happiness. I would do anything to read a Rundell book. I love her stuff. This is a middle grade fiction. It is all about a bunch of kids trying to steal back one of the kids' grandfather's castle. I need not say more than that. Again, already been released. The next two books were actually books that I bought, and one of them I meant to buy a lot earlier than I did, and that was the Soul of the Sword by Julia Kagawa. This is the sequel to Shadow of the Fox, which was probably one of my favourite reads last year. I have my full review up, and I will leave a card above so you can go and have a watch of that one if you want to see what I thought of the first book. This is obviously following on with events from that, so I'm not going to talk about it much more than that. I haven't read it yet. I will be reading it soon. I just need like the right amount of time to just sit and absorb this in like one sitting so I can fangirl over it. It's Japanese inspired mythology, and I think that's all you need to know, but So excited to have this in my hands. The last book that I bought in July was Daughter to the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Now, the reason that I bought this one is because I was getting really close to having the top tier membership at my local bookstore because I buy too many books and I needed to spend like another $20. So I bought another book. And I got my gold membership, so I do actually want to read this book, though this has been on my wish list for quite some time. It says pirate on the cover and has a female lead, and that's sort of all I really need to know to want to read this. I couldn't actually tell you what it's about. Sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map. Done. So that was it for July, but then in August I actually had a slightly more success on the haul side of things than I did in July, which was great. I did buy a couple of books. I treated myself, and the first book that I bought was The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. I cannot wait to read this. I can't wait to be sad and gutted because so many people have recommended this to me. It is unbelievable. I bought this book because when like the 20th person told me I needed to read this book, I was like, fine. I will go and get myself a copy because clearly this book was written for me. I have read an extraordinary number of specifically Auschwitz stories in the last year or so, and I have been loving them. The Librarian of Auschwitz, The Boy Who Followed His Father into Auschwitz. I can't keep saying that name that many times because it's... But I'm excited to read this. I know it's going to be good. I know I'm going to love it, and I actually don't want to know any more than that. I've not really read much more of the blurb or read any reviews, so I'm just trusting people blind here. The next book that I bought in August was Courting Darkness by Robin Lefevre. So excited about this. This is the fourth book in the, well, it's not in his Fair Assassin trilogy. This is actually the first one in a duology that is following the same characters, but it's set in the same world. To me, I've just been waiting for about 8 years for the next story in this series. I'm so excited. It's quite a hefty book, which I'm thrilled about. We've got over 500 pages of story following Sibella, and Sibella and the Beast were such a good story in it, so I'm so excited that this has happened. This is one of these books that I thought would just never come out. The next and the final two books that I have to show you were sent to me for review. The first one came from Penguin upon my request. I did specifically ask for this one because when I wrote my blog post over on my blog about all the books coming out in August, I had seen that this was slated to come out, and I was like, I need to buy this book. I think it sounds fantastic. And I sneakily emailed Penguin being like, hey, reckon you want to send me a copy? And they did, and that was The Warehouse by Rob Hart, and this one sounds like a good dystopian. It is set in this world, but there's this company called The Cloud, and everyone's living in poverty and jobs are rare, so to get a job at this place is like, you're good for life. And the two main characters do exactly that, but for very different reasons, to sort of uncover what the company is actually doing and how far they'll really go to deliver their service. So I think this is going to be a fantastic mind teaser of a dystopian, and I'm excited. I'm very excited about this one. So this one came out on the 20th of August, so this is fresh off the press. Which means the last book that I have to show you today is actually one that I managed to snag a copy of, and I'm so excited. It came from Harlequintine, and that was The Ventriloquists by E.R. Ramseypour. This one came out on the 27th of August, and it is historical fiction. It is about 3 times as big as I was expecting it to be, and I'm slightly nervous at that. This is an advanced copy of it, so I don't have the finished copy, but that is the official cover, and it's all about a group of kids in Nazi-occupied Brussels, and all sorts of fun stuff happens. So if you're interested in historical fiction and this sort of story, get excited. I was particularly excited for this one because of a book I read last year called The Wolf Children or something like that, and that one was all about a group of kids and what they did in Berlin whilst the war was going on and things weren't going their way, and it was such a good story. So kids in Nazi Germany, I'm ready for it. Let's hope it's as good as I am expecting it to be. So these are all the books that I have received over the last 3 months. I really thought this was going to be a nice short haul because I thought it only had 1 month to do, but apparently I did not. So let's see if I give you a book haul next month or if it's going to be another 3 monthly check-in. Let me know if you've read any of these books because I am very curious to hear everyone's thoughts and opinions on them if you have, but other than that, I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.